The presentation that I'm giving here today is about Mercurial Revision Control system. And before I really get in depth about Mercurial specifically, I'll talk about revision control in general. What is revision control? It is a way for you to manage documents. A lot of people use it to manage source code. So sometimes you will hear some other terms, such as version control, source control, code management, source code management. But I'm going to use the more general term revision control because you don't have to use it just for source code. You can use it for writing a book and keeping previous revisions. Maybe you had written a long chapter about something, decided that you didn't want it, you deleted it, and come to find out that your publisher actually really wanted that in there, and oh no, you lost it. So if you have revision control, that will help you handle some of those things. So why use revision control? Protection, it's gonna save your ass. Synchronization. You can have multiple people working on the same document at the same time, and revision control, Mercurial specifically, will allow synchronization so that you can synchronize two separate documents into one document if they're being edited at the same time. And I thought 3 bullets would be nice, but I could not think of a third one. Anybody use any revision control here? Would you suggest a third bullet that could go there if I give this presentation again? This is the second time I've given this presentation. It's expanded since then, but I still haven't thought of anything else. I mean, those top 2 things are really important.
What about Murphy's Law?
I think it's just historical background. You know, sometimes it's worth the historical background.
Yes, and that's another thing about when you write a book or paper. It used to be that you could find revisions so you could see like what John Steinbeck was thinking as he was writing this book, how he progressed. And doing it electronically, you usually can't do that unless there's a history there. And so electronically, sometimes you don't have earlier manuscripts to see how far you've strayed from the original idea, possibly to get back to that original idea. But yeah, just to have the history is a good thing.
Well, another thing too is that you find that you have done something, and for some reason or the other, your clients are sitting there saying, "We do not like what you're doing anymore with this. You know, we want you to go back to the old way." You know, you may not remember what the old way was. At least you go back that and make whatever revisions to go ahead and update it so that you can please them in some form or fashion.
Definitely.
I know it sounds crazy, but
I've come across that a lot at work too.
So you think of protection mostly like a backup in some sense, and pulling out synchronization, like collaborative work, right?
Protection because if you are using your revision control and having backups, Mercurial allows easy backups that keep all your revisions intact. And so you don't have to worry about really worry about that so much, because Mercurial will take care of a lot of that stuff for you. All right, there are a few different types of revision control software. There's local, which will pretty much only be on your computer. There's client-server based, which it's pretty much like Wikipedia. Anybody here ever use Wikipedia? Everybody except for Ben. Has anybody edited a Wikipedia article? Was it actual valid stuff you guys put in there, or did you put crap? And if you notice that it has a lot of revisions, so you can revert back to, say, the first article. I mean, Wikipedia itself has some revision control in there, and that's kind of a client-server based because the server itself is wikipedia.org and your client is your computer client. You can see all that stuff, but you don't really have access locally to do whatever you want with all of your all the revisions. So that's client server, and then there's distributed, which Mercurial is distributed, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So some things that use local revision control. I put MediaWiki on there. That's if you're hosting your own Wikipedia type site locally. I mean, then you just have it locally. Some file systems like the ZFS will actually have version control stuff in there, and OpenOffice, it has some revision control for some of the documents that you write. OpenOffice, for those of you who don't know, is pretty much like Microsoft Office, except it's a free version. And this is another example of some local revision control. Anybody ever have a folder that looks like this? Nobody? Oh, you guys are liars.
I just overwrite everything.
Oh, you just overwrite everything. Well, that's even worse, because at least this way you maybe have some information like, oh, I wrote it at this date, and that's what it looked like.
Commenting out old code and writing new one below.
But you lose things like metadata, like when did that happen, who did that, and things like that. So yeah, this is a really bad example of how to do revision control. It's not very pretty, and especially if you have more than just one revision going on at the same time, it kind of will get unyielding pretty quick. I have some history of version control here. It's probably not very interesting, so I'm going to skip some of this. This is kind of a model of client server. And some Microsoft with Visual Studio has something called Team Foundation Server that ties in to Visual Studio, and it's a client server based, and it is also client server based. There was a nice little quote that I had that I wanted to say, because I'm not a big fan of client server based revision control systems, and there was a really old one called Subversion, or called CVS, and
is there a reason that you're not a fan of client server version?
Because it allows you to, if you are not connected to the server, you lose a lot of the ability to access a lot of some of the previous revisions. You don't get the entire history for everything, and it allows you to have distributed, allows you to have better workflows, especially if you're working with multiple teams. CVS is one of the oldest ones, and it had a lot of problems, so Subversion tried to make CVS better. There's a nice quote from Linus Torvalds, the creator of the Linux kernel, that I wanted to share. Subversion has been the most pointless project ever started. Subversion used to say CVS done right. With that slogan, there's nowhere you can go. There's no way to do CVS right. If you like using CVS, you should be in some kind of mental institution or somewhere else. That's from the creator of the...
I use CVS and I'm still around.
Well, but you also use BSD, so you don't care what Linus Torvalds says.
Actually, OpenBSD does have its own project. It's called OpenCVS. So they are trying to rectify some problems with CVS. Up to just for the record, up to 2005, CVS was the reverse control system. Period, and then CVN took over when it comes to server client, and obviously we have now lots of these distributed reversion controls like Mercurial, GIST and stuff. I really like Mercurial when it comes to distributed.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I'm giving it over.
When it comes to distributed.
So this is what the computer model looks like for distributed version. Why distributed version control? Here's some more history. Distributed because it doesn't allow a reliance on one single server. Everybody who has a copy is essentially the server. So why did I mean, when I was looking for a revision control system, I was looking at mainly Git, which was written by Linus Torvalds, and Mercurial. And I decided on Mercurial, one, because it is distributed, two, because it's easy to use, It's really fast, on par with Git. I mean, this is written in I'm going to stop with all the technical stuff. I'm sure a lot of you guys aren't interested. But apparently I can't spell Windows.
Oh, I think you did that on purpose.
And also another reason why Mercurial is because it has this really cool thing called Portis HG, which I'm about to show you. And I'll give you guys a link to the slideshow so you can see how to install some of these things that I'm talking about. And let me go ahead and get this set up over here.
One easy step is not available. It is beyond the scope of this presentation.